So the weekend is the time where we're out with family and friends, tend to do all that overindulging that we shouldn't do, and then you wake up Monday morning and you're not particularly feeling all that great. And that's because your digestive system is just saying, enough already. Well, we're going to talk about some tips for good digestion. Stephanie Claremont joins us. She's a registered dietitian and nutrition coach. And digestion has really become something that's on your radar, Stephanie, because you said you were seeing more and more people who were coming into you saying, you know, I've got this problem, I'm having these problems, and the symptoms all seem to lead back to digestive health.
Yeah. I started seeing more and more people in my private practice that were expressing concern with things like gas and bloating, distension, abdominal pain. And there's huge numbers in Canada, in the States, and Australia with people that are suffering from irritable bowel syndrome, which would be these types of symptoms, that gas, excessive gas, bloating, and some type of change in bowel habit. So I wanted to just come in and talk a little bit about that today, as I've changed a little bit of my practice to focus on the needs of these people a little more.
So I'm wondering why the increase in this, Stephanie, and the first thing I would think of is, okay, we aren't the best eaters. We're a fast food society. Everything's got to be fast-paced. We're not eating the way we should. Is that all sort of leading towards
the why is really hard. So because I'm a dietitian, I'm very evidence-based. So I look at the research, and there's not a lot of research on what is causing this, why it's happening. Now, Mark was talking about a book, Food and Mood, and there is a mind-body connection with IBS and with some of these digestive issues. So besides food, which can cause, that may cause some of these symptoms, there's also that mind-body connection. We're very stressed, we're very busy, we have a lot going on, we don't take time to breathe anymore. So some of those things can be influencing that as well, but we can only theorize that, you know, maybe it's agriculture, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. We don't really know. But the biggest thing that I wanted to talk to you about today was that a lot of people are self-diagnosing, and it's really important that you don't self-diagnose yourself as having like a gluten allergy or intolerance. The gluten-free diet is almost trendy right now, and a lot of people are following it either for a short period of time or, you know, extensively. And you can't properly screen for some of the more complicated digestive disorders like celiac disease, and colitis and Crohn's and even bowel cancer. Some of those things we need to work with family physicians to rule out some of those conditions first, and then you know, you can move towards using the diet and using food to help with any kind of digestive discomfort. Okay.
You've brought along just a number of different types of food. I'm looking at all of them thinking, okay, all of these are good, healthy choices. But I was kind of surprised when you were telling me, starting down at this end, these are some of the foods that people tend to have problems with. There can be problem foods for people?
Yeah, so I work with people for to follow a low FODMAP diet, and that's a mouthful.
FODMAP.
Right.
Okay, what's a FODMAP?
It's fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. And
hence the FODMAP.
Yes.
Okay.
So hence that. So basically, they're foods, they're dietary sugars that can be malabsorbed or not digested well in the gut.
Okay.
And so we start with this group right here, with the broccoli. You can see the whole wheat bread there, apple, pear, garlic, onions, mushrooms, delicious, wonderful foods, beans, and dairy foods. Those are just some of the foods that are high in FODMAPs. So these are not very well absorbed by the gut, and most people don't have a problem with them. They look like lovely, healthy foods, and they are. They should be in your diet. But there's some of these kind of tricky foods that might actually be upsetting your gut if you do have IBS and triggering some of those symptoms.
Okay. So those are some of the culprit foods, I guess we'll call it. Then we start to move into these foods, and these are the more gut-friendly foods?
Yeah, so they are low in FODMAPs.
Okay.
So low in those dietary sugars that will trigger symptoms, and we have lots of different foods. So I talk to people about going on a bit of an exclusion diet, not long-term, but for a short period of time to identify those trigger foods, and these are the foods that we're focusing on, and a lot more. So lots of different kinds of proteins, nuts, lots of fruit like berries, kiwi, bananas. There's still some carbs there like oats, quinoa, maybe barley for some people, rice, and alternatives to dairy foods as well. I have some lovely little gluten-free muffins up there that my handsome husband made yesterday. So
did he really?
He did. He's wonderful in the kitchen, so very helpful. So lots of things that you're still going to include in your diet and a little easier to digest, but you don't want to cut out that wheat or that gluten first, and that's what is really, really important. But some people do have a problem with that, and it is triggering symptoms for them.
So if somebody were to come into you and say, okay, I'm experiencing these problems with the gas, the bloating, and that, where do you start with them? How do you start the process of determining exactly what it is? Because it can be so many different things.
Yeah, we connect with the doctor, and I find out what type of screening they've done already, if they have done the celiac screening to make sure that they don't have that allergy to wheat. And if we've ruled that out, then we can talk about intolerances to food.
Okay.
And then we would exclude some of these nasty foods that might be bothering you, get you to a point of symptom relief, and then add foods back in to identify, oh, that one definitely is causing me some trouble. No, this one is absolutely fine, and everyone's really different. So it's kind of a challenging process that you want to work with a dietitian that specializes in FODMAPs.
And that's why it's so important not to just try to do this on your own. And when you mentioned, we're in a day and age, the internet is a great resource for us, but too often we go on there and you can find too much information. I have a brother who's a nurse that said, oh, but for everything you find that says this, you'll find something that counteracts it, and you have to be really careful.
Yeah, he's right. It's really tricky out there, and I actually have gotten quite a few clients lately that say, you know, I know how to eat healthy. I know what healthy eating is, but man, it's confusing out there. It's complicated. I need some help. Can you clear this up for me? And so it's just really important not to exclude foods, but to talk to someone who's an expert in digestion and work through that with them.
Well, because you are the expert and you're going to help us with our digestion, we'll bring you back a little later on, and then we'll show you that to eat healthy and for good digestion can be very yummy too. We'll do a little cooking, okay? Yes. All right, Stephanie's back in a little bit, and when we come back, it's all about the paranormal. Stay with us.